Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Sons and Daughters of Liberty. Hope everybody's enjoying their day, staying warm and dry. I know for the rest of this week we're in for some crazy ass weather. Severe thunderstorms in the south, blizzard-like conditions in certain parts of the north, freezing rain in my area. So our trend of screwed up weather continues. Been about the gist of the year, the start of the year. Good evening, Bree. Yeah, I've got a few things I want to talk about today. Uh, Marjorie Taylor Greene's talking about a national divorce, which we'll get into that a little bit. Do want to cover a little bit more on East Palestine here in Ohio. Along with, talking about a lot more factories and stuff catching on fire. I mean, out around Cleveland just yesterday, we had that metal plant explode and catch on fire. Really haven't heard much about it since then, which is odd to say the least. There's a lumber storage area in Brooklyn, New York. It's currently on fire right now. So we're seeing a lot of factories and miscellaneous fires, many tons of rail derailments. But I did come across something today that nobody's really talking about when it comes to dealing with Norfolk, and that they had given a generous donation to Governor DeWine just a month ago before the derailment, and things are just starting to fall into place on that. We have that, a movie a couple years ago, White Noise. Then we uncovered where just last year they gave out digital IDs, and bracelets to monitor people's health and blood. Then we find out today that Norfolk Southern gave a huge donation to Governor DeWine. I'm seeing all kinds of stuff coming out about the water, how unsafe it is, tap water coming out brown, smelling. We got videos of multiple water pump filter pumps out in the streams, but they're saying the water's safe, the water tables. At this point, I don't believe nothing that's being said. I mean, we had probably the biggest slap in the face to the people of Ohio in general. When Biden says he's not coming out here and he goes to Ukraine instead on President's Day, promising them more aid, more money. Not fixing the problems we have in our own country. I'm sick and tired of hearing this focus on Ukraine. It ain't our problem. If 90% of the American people could care less what's happening in Ukraine. It's not our problem. It's not an allied nation. It's not allied to NATO. NATO wanted nothing to do with them. The only thing Biden wants to do with them is cover his corruption up. Oh, how we forget while he was vice president under Obama, how he helped the Ukrainians when Russia tried to take over that port. Him and Hillary. So, this Kiev and Ukraine deal is solely interconnected with the Bidens, the Clintons, and Obamas. It's got to the point where we have a president that does not care about the people of the United States. He will not put this country first. We have congressmen and women on both sides that will not put this country first. I pointed out the last video I did of all the campaign promises. I can go clear back to the 90s. They all preach and say we're going to give back to the infrastructure. We're going to fix the infrastructure. They don't fix it because they don't fix all the loopholes and the broken system when it comes to states and federal and other agencies and contractors. The loopholes where it allows politicians to get kickbacks from high bids on jobs to where they can just pocket the money. When instead of the low bid guys that low bid on it, they don't get the contract because they're not giving any money back to the people that's giving them the contract. Any contractor out there, you know what I'm talking about. You've been there, done that, and it pisses you off more than anything. Then you see these cheap, shoddy jobs that are done, or perfect example here in the Northwest Ohio. They'll run a main road that's heavily trafficked. Instead of putting asphalt down, they'll put stone down. And I'm sure if you go look, you'll see all the money they got is accountable for. Oh, what did they actually pay? Did they pay for asphalt or stone? If they paid for asphalt and they put stone down, where'd the money for the extra money go for the asphalt? Our railways, disaster. I mean, honestly, we're having more trail derailments now, the beginning of this year, than we did last year. And we had over 243 trail derailments last year recorded. People's focus is now on it. They're seeing it, but we're not seeing the impacts. I mean, you start seeing dead wildlife, you start seeing the environmental impact, which we're not really going to see for a couple years to see how bad we'll really know how bad it is. But then again, you have Norfolk's contractors out there testing all this, saying it's okay. Then you pay and give donations to the line a month ago. It makes you wonder, was this an intentional derailment? And I don't believe in coincidences. When you start finding multiple things, start adding up, questions has to be asked. And there's just too many things that are popping up now, and it does make you wonder. We have all these illegals coming across our border. We have Chinese nationals coming across the border. Who knows what else? Cartels. Are we looking at an intentional attack on the American infrastructure? Too much stuff's going on that's just shouldn't be. We've talked about this a little bit, me and a couple of my friends, especially those of us that actually worked in factories. We know from the lockdowns until recently, most factories haven't been inspected for safety or by OSHA because all that was suspended. It took it getting brought up with the baby formula plants, then realizing that, well, these places haven't been inspected by OSHA. These haven't had inspectors come out there for safety. You let a factory on its own whims that can actually save some money, cut costs, they will. There is reasons why we have these organizations that go into these factories and inspect this stuff. But we also have old infrastructure. I mean, the factory I worked in I remember as a Boy Scout going there to help build an Iditarod sled. That's how long that building's been up. Yeah, they've added on a couple new sections in the last 2 years, but the rest of the building's still old. Old machinery. Floors are unsettled, no longer level. But they don't pay. Oh, that's not affecting the machinery, but it's affecting those that drive the forklifts when you're carrying stuff on your forks and you come across. I mean, you get to know where these spots are and you slow down or angle a different way so you don't shake anything off your forks, but it's an accident waiting to happen. It's a safety violation. So we do have that going on. But like I said, it goes back to our politicians. They're not putting money back into the infrastructure. They're deliberately letting it fail. Then when you get corporations like the railroad, we know how corrupt the railroad is. History on the railroad is probably they were one of the most corrupt group of people ever to come across and became millionaires. They were the first millionaires of the United States when it came to corporations. When they started putting the railroads in, they used slave labor. It was, the stories are despicable. And a lot of our true organized crimes came off from the railroad. The history of our railroad is deep, dark, and it's been left to shambles. Now we're finding out you have corporations like BlackRock and a couple other ones who, we start seeing some of the ugliest things around, including censorship. We see these companies, brokerages, whatever you want to call them, money laundering. Basically, they're an organized crime syndicate. It's what they are. Call it for what it is. Protecting these things, allowing these things to happen, and helping cover it up. I'm sorry, you don't give a governor a huge donation. When I seen that report, that was just sickening. To know this just happened a month prior. Well, of course, DeWine's going to fall in line. That's my problem with lobbyists. That's my problem with corporations being able to donate and give as much money as they want to a campaign, to a political person, identity label. They're buying the system. They're buying our elections at the cost of the American people. And many of these corporations or entities like BlackRock are foreign owned. So we're allowing foreign influence to dictate our politics. The audacity and atrocity that's happened here in Ohio over this, and just not Ohio anymore. It's being seen all over. Our substations have been under attack. 71% increase in substations being attacked as of today. Like I said, last week there was a report that came out which was confirmed that National Guard or military National Guard, I don't know if I'm still live. My computer just went offline. I'm actually running it through my phone. So we'll see. It didn't say I got disconnected from the phone. Okay, looks like we're back up. So we're seeing all this stuff happen. Then, it's not the first time she's alluded to it, and we've heard several politicians talk about this. We need a national divorce. Okay, we've actually had this in history happen once before. They tried to do a peaceful national divorce. It did not work. It turned into civil war. If you don't think history won't repeat itself, it will repeat itself on a grander, larger, nightmarish scale than it was before. I'm sick and tired of hearing politicians that claim to be representatives of America, representing the American people, start talking this dangerous rhetoric, because it is dangerous, it is rhetoric, and they're not representing the American people because obviously they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. In this day and age where we're so divided amongst people, it would be pandemonium chaos on a scale that I don't think any of us can truly imagine, because that's when we actually are going to have to be truthful with ourselves. Be truthful with what will transpire. And people don't want to hear that. They don't want to believe that. But deep down, it's true. It will be, it won't just be brother and sister, family and family against each other. It will be all kinds of people against each other. You'll have your zealots, you'll have your so-called racist. It will be complete unrest. It will not be safe for anybody. You'll have groups of blacks targeting whites. You'll have groups of whites targeting blacks and Hispanics doing the same. Why? Because that's what they've been told by their labels that they choose to follow for politics. Democrats want to say everything's racist, every white person is a supremacist. They will literally create something far worse than we ever seen during the Civil War or any world war. What we need is a revolutionary war, not a civil war. We can never take back our government during a civil war because we're too divided and we'll be too busy fighting amongst ourselves and trying to survive the nightmare that our politicians created over the decades. So when I hear Marjorie Taylor Greene talk about a national divorce, she needs to step in line with the rest of them that needs to be removed from Congress. Because her opinions were a national divorce by red and blue. Blue states become Democrat one part of the country, red state comes another part of the country. That's how she depicted it. What about the people that are Republicans that live in the blue states? It will be so much fighting, so much bloodshed. No, that is not what we need. What we need is to clean up our government. What we need is to adhere to what our founding fathers said. If our government ever became too tyrannical, we need to take it back. We can't do that divided. And that's why they're constantly focusing on pitting us together. Another prime example of what McCarthy did. Instead of releasing all those hours of videos to the public, he gives it all to one. This happens to be the Republican Party's news outlet, which is Fox, to Tucker Carlson, which will leave, you'll have more infighting, more fighting amongst people. Well, that's not true. That's fake news. When it should have been laid out to the public and put out and went over in the House floor in front of everybody after they released it to the public. That way there could have been nothing left for question. All that was meant to do was further divide people. Further cause chaos. That's not going to get justice for the people that are still locked up unlawfully without their rights. In fact, that just made it worse and harder for them to win their cases. But people don't want to see that. They're like, "Oh yes, Fox has got it." Yeah, but guess what? Nobody else has got it. And everybody else that don't got it's going to tear that apart, make you doubt, question, pit all the people that follow them against that to where, oh no, that's not what happened. They're faking it. I've seen the videos. I've seen something. Well, you know what? I wear earbuds. I wear earpieces when I'm out and about. Just because you're circling a guy's ear with an earpiece doesn't mean it's an undercover thing. Don't believe everything you see. Do I believe that happened? Oh, yeah, I believe that happened. It was an inside job because obviously they put more focus on January 6th than they did the day before with the pipe bomber, who they still haven't caught, which would have raised the threat level even more for the inauguration, which would have made security even that much more tighter in D.C. because they would have been at the highest level alert because of the pipe bombs just the day before. January 6th should have never happened because it was virtually impossible to happen. And ask anybody that's ever went there, the amount of security you already got to go through. I mean, you're pretty much the only thing you can have is a camera in your hand and a clothes on your back. You can't take a backpack in. You can't take a selfie stick in. Can't take a flag in on a pole because you're not getting past the first gate, let alone the 3 or 4 other ones that you got to go, checkpoints you got to go through just to get to where you're going. Nobody points that out. Why? Because we're too busy arguing amongst ourselves. There's a lot of shit I've been seeing going on that I would love to speak my mind about. Sometimes I choose not to because that's what they want. They want us to speak out in anger. They want us to escalate the situation to prove their point. They want to use that to trigger us to further divide us. But what I've seen is sickening in itself. And I do. You guys see the videos, the violence that's happening in our schools or school buses, people just walking down the road getting sucker punched, people coming up to people's doors with guns in their hands, ringing the doorbell, hoping somebody answers. All the looting that's happening in California, groups of people just walking in. You see the video, so you know where I'm getting at. They're intentionally trying to bait us because they want us fighting each other. Because we're fighting each other, we're not fixing our problems. We're not fighting the ones that are truly our enemies. And our enemies right now are the very ones we have elected into offices. They've become so corrupt, so tyrannical. Because if they were for the people, the shit that we've seen going on, the president, I've never recall a natural disaster or a disaster such as what happened out in East Palestine, especially in a contested state like Ohio, a president ever not want to go there. I mean, the head guy of transportation didn't even want to go there. Oh, it's not a FEMA issue. Um, then FEMA doesn't need to exist because by what FEMA stands for and what FEMA was created for, it is a FEMA issue. As much as I don't want to say that, because I can't stand the concept and the ideas behind FEMA. It's a Red Cross incident. The Red Cross, to my knowledge, is yet to show up and give help. The mayor of East Palestine, he said yesterday, the most disrespectful slap in the face to his community was Biden going to a third world country that's not not an ally, and putting them above the people in East Palestine. But hey, our own governor, doesn't care. Shit, his he got donations given to him by Norfolk just a month ago. Here, you're gonna help us keep this quiet. He got his hush money before it even happened. There's definitely some investigations that need to be going on. DeWine needs to be investigated. Norfolk needs to be investigated. We just seen the demise of Project Veritas, which, by the way, I no longer follow Project Veritas. I will not share anything that comes from Project Veritas. That's not James O'Keefe. Because James O'Keefe is Project Veritas. The board actually violated their mission, the very mission statement that they represent when they did what they did to O'Keefe. And now that O'Keefe has spoken about it, all he has to do is prove one of those things that he said did not happen, as they said. And anything that board's done without him will no longer exist, because they cannot be a charitable foundation without O'Keefe. And once they violated their mission statements, they have proven that they, and Project Veritas lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and they deserve to. But at the same time, it was a decisive attack. They needed to put James O'Keefe's in question. They needed people to question him. He's been honest on things. They needed to attack his character, assassinate his character, and cancel his character. Now we can say and believe what we want. I personally believe, yes, Pfizer probably threw lots of money towards some of those board members. Make this happen. It might not have been in the name of Pfizer, but I'm willing to bet if you do investigations into those board members' bank accounts, their bank accounts grew so incredibly before this happened, before they let him go, or basically tried to fire him. They're not going to sit here and tolerate anybody that's got reach. That's what I'm kind of happy about Sons and Daughters of Liberty. It doesn't have the numbers or subscriber count that people are drawn to, because they want, everything to people is about numbers. It's not about quality anymore. It's about quantity, which is cool because it allows me to slide under the radar a lot. I know my true numbers and statistics. I know my reach on every platform. So I know when I do a video here over YouTube, and when I put it and post it everywhere that I'm on, I know the exact number of views the video gets, the reach it gets. It doesn't, my analytics don't reflect that because it's designed not to. And I've done videos on showed you this step by step how this works, how you're being lied to, manipulated. I don't agree with what Tim Pool's been doing. He's become about the money. Yes, he still put out great stories and stuff, but I'm not gonna support the man. You set your live stream chats are now to subscribers only. You're basically saying those that don't pay you Their opinions and voices and views don't matter. But to each their own. He's running a business. And we're starting to see how money builds corruption, how it builds greed, how it turns people away from their originality of what they created. I will not support somebody that will hide important content behind a paywall, especially when you have that reach to reach all these people. I will not let YouTube control me through fear. You talk about this, we'll demonetize you. You talk about this, we'll give you a strike. Well, I'll play your stupid, silly game. I won't monetize this channel ever. I have an issue right now with Rumble. I haven't figured out how to fix it. Any video I do now, because I synced it, will go to Rumble, but it goes to Rumble as a monetized video, and I don't monetize my stuff. Can't find it in the settings where to turn it off or nothing. I know when I upload a video, I have a choice, and I'm about ready to, leave Rumble for that reason. I do not want my videos monetized. I don't want to give any platform an inch to say I can't say something. Sorry, I've been around the block for a very long time. I've seen how this game works. Once you get to where you're financially secure, you'll start censoring people. It happens on every platform. It's one of those things. You don't do this thing. You don't do these things for money. Because when you start doing it, you open these doors to where they can try to control you. I mean, if you haven't learned that lesson by now, don't. And yes, it is a sacrifice you got to take. But some people don't. They want to build something. They want to have a better life than what they had, which is what the American dream is all about. But when that dream's broken and it's being used against you, you got to find ways to fight back. But that's how they know it. And that's how they control us. That's how they manipulate us all the time. It's so easy. We live in a day and age where it's so easy to manipulate, trigger people, control people, influence people. It's not funny. But we ever get into that national divorce situation, that will be the downfall of America because we're so divided as a nation. Nobody wants to talk about that. We don't need a civil war. We need a revolutionary war. We need to take back our government. We don't need to be fighting amongst ourselves. There's people out there intentionally will go out there and create drama amongst people to get things started. Because when everybody knows, you start getting drama, people don't want to deal with drama. They deal with drama in their everyday lives. They don't want to come listen to you dishing out more drama. They use that to pit us against each other. They use that to slowly destroy us. It's just, and it's hard to sometimes, people say, well, you're trying to, no, I'm not. I could care less what Temple really does. I'm just pointing out something. Now I'll still share his videos and stuff. I still follow him, still listen from time to time. Some I see things important, but the fact is, when you start restricting your audience, you become no better than the people you bitch and complain about because you're creating the same system now. And that's my opinion and views on that matter. There was so much stuff been said past year or so, but I get it. You know, he's had his livelihood threatened. He's had his business threatened. I mean, look at all the raids on his place last year, bomb threats. But he's kept on going. So he's changed some things. Those changes aren't for the betterment of the people. When you start eliminating who can have conversations with you, he was one of the first people to mention, well, I'm going to get a blue check mark and pay for it. And those that don't have it, I'm not going to answer. I'm going to ignore. Basically saying, you know, a lot of us, we can't afford to be paying for all these extra services. I don't care. Ooh, I got a verify. I got a verified check mark. I'm verified. Get to see my face from time to time. You get to hear my voice. I don't need no special fucking blue check mark or what. I can't remember what YouTube just uses the phone number. Used to. They call you back. You give them a phone number. You call back to his face. That's how my YouTube channel got verified. It was simple, easy. Nothing else required. No special mark. No. You know, as we get older, we start realizing those stupid childish games of popularity contests don't mean anything. We start realizing that the quality of life is more important than some whimsical popularity contest. But we can't be scared not to talk about these issues. I mean, like I said, there's a huge issue going on right now, and it's all violent, meant to undermine society, our nation. They're literally letting us destroy it from within, and we're too blind and bitter to realize it. Because that means we have to realize the truths that we've been lied to, deceived, tricked. We have to realize, you know, not every video we've seen being posted, yes, it's happening more and more, is what's really happening all over. I know you couldn't pay me to live in a city because I don't want to deal with that BS. I live out in the country for a reason. I live outside of towns for a reason. It's safer, better quality of life. But, you know, we're seeing states like Texas, we're seeing how the influx of people coming from California into their state is changing the demographics of the state, changing the lifestyle of the state. We're seeing more violence, more stuff that it didn't happen in Texas 2 or 3 years ago, 5 years ago, would never be tolerated 10 years ago. That's why we can never have a national divorce like MTG is talking about. It's impossible. It would destroy this country permanently. You know, we should never be repeating history, especially the darkest part of our history. The best part of our history was our revolution when we took our independence. But our founding fathers repeatedly warned about what would happen with corruption and tyranny, because it happens in every form of civilization. When civilization starts becoming greater, when it starts creating forms of government, forms of power, it eventually leads to its fall. Every great civilization fell because of the corruptions of the government that they created, whether it be a tribal government. We just used government for a general term for all forms of monarchy, republic, communism, because it's a structure that's created to govern the people. And that's where the problem is. We have not learned from from history's past mistakes. The same people start coming in, they start getting greedy, they start getting corrupt, then they start thinking they're better than everybody else. Then they start treating the people like they're slaves, like they're the laborers. It's supposed to be we the people for the people. Our representatives are just that. They're our representatives. They're supposed to be our voice. They're not supposed to be dictating what we want them, what they want us to do. It's what we want them to do. We don't want them in Ukraine. We don't want us in Ukraine. We don't want all the corruption that's happening. We want to get back to bettering America, making it better, fixing our infrastructure, bringing our jobs back, creating American-made products again. There's a flaw in every system. Capitalism has its flaws. Its major flaws, it allows people to get rich, become corrupt and greedy. It now takes from the middle class, makes them poor, with the systems in place that prevents middle class from becoming rich, upper middle class. There's no advancement for the everyday people anymore. And it's only the few selected that are allowed to advance. It's no longer that American dream to where we all can prosper and grow and advance. They've restricted that. They've restricted our freedoms. They've restricted our liberties, our rights. They're constantly attacking our Second Amendment, constantly attacking our First Amendment. Then they play these little games to pit us against each other, to keep throwing race in them. I've seen somebody get attacked for quoting a direct historical factual statement. Many of the blacks were sold in Africa, were sold into slavery by Africans, by their own tribal people. When a tribe would conquer another tribe, they would sell off that conquered tribe into slavery. When times were hard, they'd sell their weak off into slavery. These are historical facts. It's not racism. Slavery was a forms of all colors. But they attacked her flat out. No, that's not true. You're a racist. You're a white supremacist because you're white, or because your skin color looks white. I'd be curious what people would say about my one friend. He's a medical anomaly. Both his parents are Caucasian. DNA matches everything. This is medically recorded and documented, and it is labeled as a medical anomaly, but he's black. On his birth certificate, he is labeled as Caucasian, but his skin color is black. And it's like he said. He goes, it's weird, but he got to see a different side of things. And it, like you said, it made him sick. Judging people by their color or by their associations, instead of realizing that We are all Americans, therefore we're all brothers and sisters. We should never be arguing about race. We've already had those great civil rights victories. We've had great feminine victories until we allow those groups to be infiltrated to where that message is no longer the same. Women have just as much equal rights in the workplace now than they ever did. Does it happen from time to time? Yes, we all know that. But it's not like they say it. They constantly say it's every day. Like I said, the feminist movement was ruined during President Trump's inauguration when they had their little pussy march wearing their pussy hats. And a white female reporter was asking questions, and a man hit her and started beating up on her. And when the cops came, all these so-called feminists was protecting the man from the cops. Yeah, that wouldn't have happened in the 80s, 90s, and 70s. The cops would have been struggling to get that man off her out of there to save his life because they were going to kill him. Oh no, it was the white woman reporter who was guilty, not the man that punched her in the face. Sorry, your feminist movement died that day. Your message died that day. Just like so many other things have died because people don't start paying attention and weeding these people out that's been put in there to infiltrate your groups, your movements. It's the dirtiest little tactic that the FBI and CIA have used. They did it to Martin Luther King. They did it to Malcolm X. Anytime they didn't want something to go their way, they put people in place to sabotage these groups. Then they learned from those earlier adventures that they can manipulate them, sway them, and actually control them. And they have. And they've done it successfully and using it to divide the American people, pit them against each other. And nobody questions it. The only time they question it, we watch the MAGA people turn on people that would question Trump when Trump would say something wrong. It, and it's our due diligence to question our elected officials when they do something that's wrong or unconstitutional. We're supposed to say something. It's our due diligence as a United States citizen, as an American. But no, we've got so caught up in adhering to these labels, these demographics, and whatnot that we'll turn on each other in a heartbeat. We are their and we are our own worst enemies, and we're their tools that they'll use to completely undermine and destroy this country. And they are right in front of your eyes right now. So no, when Marjorie Taylor Greene says something stupid like national divorce, she needs to be called out on it. Because that's exactly what they want. They want us fighting against each other. So they can come in as these so-called white knights in armor when things have got so far out of hand, the bodies are piled up, that will accept any form of aid and help to rectify the situation. And next thing you know, what comes next, we will see a form of socialism or communism take over this country. We will see every constitutional right that we have, that we've cherished, stripping and taken away. Then you know what comes next? Another country will come in here because we will be unarmed and invade this country. The only thing that stops any country from coming over here, putting boots on this ground, is they know They will not win because the people in this country are armed, more armed than their armies. The casualties they could not sustain any length amount of a war front on United States soil. They argue about the Second Amendment so much. Why? Because they fear the Second Amendment. That Second Amendment is in place because of them. Our Second Amendment is in place to make sure our government does not get so far out of control. But I hope you guys enjoyed. Like I said, keeping these videos short. I don't got the greatest internet right now. Definitely, once I move, I'm not gonna. It'd be probably a little bit before I will be able to do podcasts. I'm gonna have to reinvest a new MiFi because where I'll be at, we don't have internet, so we got to rely on MiFi or our phone connections. Obviously, I got crappy internet tonight because my internet keeps dropping on the computer. It's twice it's done that, which I find funny. It's only doing it on the computer. It's not dropping my phone. It's not dropping on my Fire Stick. I guess that probably means it's a good place to leave off. And we are almost at that hour mark. Hope I gave you a few things to think about. Hope you guys enjoyed. Said I don't know when the next one will be, as I will. I'm hoping the Suburban will be out of the garage this week. I know last time I talked to my cousin, he said he got some of the electrical issue fixed. He got the lights, fan control fixed. He was waiting on a muffler to come in, replace the muffler, and he's still trying to figure out what's draining the battery. So I still have somewhat of an electrical issue that he's still trying to figure out, but I'm hoping by the end of the week that'll be done. Then it's just a matter of squaring up these financial issues that I'm seeing they're been running a little headache in. I still haven't received my W-2s yet, so I need to take care of that tomorrow. Either call the factory, find out what's up, why. It's ridiculous. It's almost March and I haven't got my W-2s. Of course, you know, that's what happens when places start declining. Then I need to recheck in about getting back a little bit of my 401k before they put it into a bond. So I'll need that little extra money to pay off the couple bills, and that way I have a little bit to get me by until I get my first paycheck sometime next month. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming months and some changes that are going to be coming about. So, like I said, I'll probably have another video before I leave up out of here. At least, that way you guys will know. Might be a month or two before I come back, but I'll, update you guys on that when I do that last video. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your week. Be safe. I will see you guys on the next one.